Namaste to all and happy Deepavali. Today we are in Canto 4 of the Book of the Divine Mother, Book 3, beginning the vision and the boon. Then suddenly there rose a sacred stir. Amid the lifeless silence of the void, in a solitude and an immensity, a sound came quivering like a loved footfall, heard in the listening spaces of the soul. A touch perturbed his fibres with delight. An influence had approached the mortal range. A boundless heart was near his longing heart. A mystic form enveloped his earthly shape. All at her contact broke from silence seal. Spirit and body thrilled, identified, linked in the grasp of an unspoken joy. Mind, members, life were merged in ecstasy. Intoxicated as with nectarous rain, his nature's passioning stretches flowed to her, flashing with lightnings, mad with luminous wine. All was a limitless sea that heaved to the moon. A divinising stream possessed his veins. His body's cells awoke to spirit sense. Each nerve became a burning thread of joy. Tissue and flesh partook beatitude.
So, it's a marvelous canto, one of the most beautiful ones. And there's a background to the event, the great event, the only, we can say, worthwhile event in entire spiritual journey of man. It is to have a vision of the divine. Yogis strive for births after births just to have a glimpse. Once mother mentioned this to these three girls. It's recounted in 12 years with Sri Aurobindo, and you know her day would stretch till 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, night. And people would be waiting to meditate when she is passing by, because she was busy throughout and hardly a couple of hours. That too not asleep, but during that time she was working in other worlds. So three of these girls, 15, 16, they were waiting, and mother got a little late, and one of them gave the flowers and went away.
Yes.
So these two girls gave to mother, said, she has gone away. When mother asked, where is she? So mother said, sages and saints do tapasya for thousands of years to have a glimpse of mine. And
God's wait to see.
God's wait to see. And I made myself so easily accessible. So this was informed to the girl. And when she saw the mother next day, she said, Mother, we don't know what is tapasya, because you have kept us under the big shelter of your, like a banyan tree. We have never experienced the effort of tapasya, and therefore we don't know what it means to have a glimpse of you through this effort. And she was very happy. She hugged her and gave her a lot of... So this vision now Ashupati is experiencing after a long journey. He has freed himself from ignorance. Ordinarily, if one has to arrive at that point, he has freed himself from ignorance. That is the first step. What is called in the truest sense as enlightenment, not the catchphrase that goes around, oh, are you an enlightened being? But true enlightenment, which is you are freed from the clutch of ignorance. You know who you are. The soul and the self. You know these. Then the second is, he has crossed all the boundaries of all the worlds and freed himself from all their energies, forces, beings, including the gods. And that reminds me today, being a Kali Puja day, and Sri Aurobindo's famous invocation, "Be wide in me, O Varuna." He continues like that, invoking the Vedic deities. At the end, he says, "And free me from all these gods, O Kali." Even the gods are a limitation. So, that utter freedom. Because they too act within the finite sphere over mind and below in Sri Aurobindo's terminology. So he has gone beyond that. He has gone past the last, these two events. And then he has survived the unknowable, where nothing made could live. What can pass through or survive in the unknowable is only that which is based on truth, nothing else. Everything will collapse. So all the thought structures, systems, philosophies, we were talking about the touch of the infinite. It is that which, anything which belongs to even a trace of falsehood will collapse. It cannot survive. And that's why Mother used to say, people often talk about invoking Kali and justice. So she said, don't invoke justice, because if it manifests, nobody will be able to stand. Invoke grace. This is the place of grace. Because it's so powerful. And he has survived the unknowable. Still his aspiration is intact. That is something tremendous. And having done that, having crossed these three crucial stages, most yogis at the most reach the apex of the mind and then they plunge into the infinite. They can't come back. But he has survived, his aspiration has survived. And therefore now he has the great vision.
But he knows there is much more.
Much more. And it starts with exactly how to know that one is in contact with the divine. So people often narrate, "Oh, I had this experience, I saw this vision, I heard this voice." But what really means a contact with the divine? And he starts with, "Then suddenly there rose a sacred stir." The whole atmosphere changes into something very beautiful, very sacred. Amid the lifeless silence of the void, in a solitude and an immensity, a sound came quivering like a loved footfall, heard in the listening spaces of the soul. A touch perturbed his fibres with delight. So there is the sense of solitude, even if one is in the middle of a crowd. There is an inner solitude. And the sense of immensity, vastness. It's not a solitude where one is running within the boundaries of the small little self, but a mighty solitude, a vast solitude. And then this is, of course, a very profound occult experience. A sound.
Yes.
His coming is often announced or felt or heard by a sound, very feeble, very gentle. And it can take many forms. Some hear the flute of Krishna, some hear the gongs like temple
And we
bells.
have that long passage.
Yes, in the world soul.
Oh.
So different kind of sounds may arise within that the Lord is near. Like, you have announcement that the king is approaching, the king is approaching. But this sound is like a loved footfall. Somebody whom you are waiting for. How you recognize, "Oh, my dearest friend, my beloved, here he is." So, Meera has described this experience in a very interesting way. She says when Krishna is approaching, there is a bhajan where she says she hears the thunder of clouds. And she says, "Badal dekh dari." She is afraid because suddenly, she hears all the... What is afraid in her? Now the ego has to renounce. It cannot. I can no more be Meera, the princess and this and that, all the things with which world has known me, all that must go. So she says, "Badal dekh dari." And another place she says, "Sunire maine avan ki, hari avan ki padchap." She hears the footsteps of the divine beloved who is approaching in the secret cavern of the heart. And what do we experience then? Delight. But look, the prefix, perturbed. Because we are busy with our soulless, lifeless routine. So it perturbs the delight, the touch of that delight. In fact, at one place, Sri Aurobindo says, peace is the sign of the divine presence. Ananda of the creative force of the divine. the mother's touch is felt as delight, whereas the Purusha aspect as peace and silence. Ananda, now it is the Divine Mother. An influence had approached the mortal range. Again, see the word influence. Now, regarding the ashram we were talking about, and Sri Aurobindo, one place says in one of the letters, on what does the yoga depend? Capacity for meditation, concentration, japa, this, that. He says all depends on whether one can open to the influence or not. Influence with the capital I. Now look, influence is not just something personally, physically being there. It's an influence. And then another place he says the ashram is the central place of influence where devotees who are outside need to return and must come time to time and get charged and go back. This is in context with, devotees being outside or not. And during Sri Aurobindo's time also, this is also Sri Aurobindo's time, but when Sri Aurobindo is physically there were devotees outside. And he says very clearly, there are a number of devotees who are outside the ashram. He explains why some have to be here and why some have to be outside. It's an occult arrangement. It's nothing to do with more developed human being. So this illusion we must get rid of. But those who are outside, they need to come again and again to the place of central influence to get charged and go back. Now, without reading this letter, many of us I said, where are you going to charge my batteries? And many people, I am sure, have experienced this, to come, get charged and go. But again, care and caution. Sri Aurobindo writes in one of the letters, when Nirodha says that today during the darshan I didn't feel that kind of joy and this thing. He says there are two kinds of atmospheres in the ashram, the human and the divine. Now, in nutshell, avoid the human and focus on the divine. Everywhere, any place you go, there are two atmospheres. Only here, because the divine atmosphere is so strong and intense, so that he is reminding us. Other places you have to look for the divine touch somewhere. You can find because he's everywhere. But here there is a very tremendous, powerful touch. But also the human atmosphere, which can be very overpowering. So an influence. A boundless heart was near his longing heart. A mystic form enveloped his earthly shape. So he is experiencing the divine all around. Mystic form. Without any definition, boundaries, boundless. All at her contact broke from silent seal. Spirit and body thrilled, identified, linked in the grasp of an unspoken joy. Mind, members, life were merged in ecstasy. So it is what can be called as a bhava samadhi. It is merged. It is not that ecstasy is making us jump and dance and sing songs. Mother was asked this. He said, well, I am aware that there are people who lose their balance and they sometimes jump and sing and dance. But in our yoga, we have to still remain steady, merged in ecstasy. It's a trance of bliss. It's not that we are unable to contain it. That comes with wideness, receptivity, and of course, ultimately grace, strength in the members. Now comes something very wonderful. Intoxicated as with nectarous rain, his nature's passioning stretches float to her, flashing with lightnings, mad with luminous wine. So this is the luminous madness. There are two kinds of madness. One is the ordinary madness. Sri Ramakrishna was asked. He said, there are people who say that, people who go to you are, mad. He gave a very beautiful answer. They say you are also mad. So he said everybody is mad. But some are mad after kanchan, money, and some are mad after dharma. So this is another kind of madness. Luminous mad. And there are people who lose their balance or they are so drunk with ecstasy, their measures fall off. So they don't know, what's happening to them. During that state, you have to ultimately learn to integrate all these states inside. That's why he speaks of the foundation of peace, calm, equanimity, without which yoga can be very dangerous, because these experiences can completely throw one out of gear. So this is the luminous wine, the somras, the real somras spoken of in the Vedas. All was a limitless sea that heaved to the moon. A divinizing stream possessed his veins. His body's cells awoke to spirit sense. Each nerve became a burning thread of joy. So you see, there is already a hint of physical transformation that is going on. That Ananda, this is the secret. And you see, it's very interesting, this link of Ananda with even longevity and freedom from disease. At one place, the mother speaks of the psychic, which brings the sense of ease and health in the body. Because it brings that, because it pours that substance into the body. And this Ananda being connected with the bodily health and otherwise, so Ananda is like a sap which is running. You see the tree, branches and everything, but where is the energy coming from? From the sap. So for us also, the physical manifestation is blood, life energy. But where is the storehouse, the generator? It is the Ananda. That's why when Ananda is diminished, nowadays people ask in medicine whether there is a will to live and a joy to live. If these are missing or diminished, we say it is very difficult to recover from an illness. And that's why depression is so dangerous, because depression opens to many, many dark and dangerous things, including illnesses, because sustaining power is gone. So we take it the other way, that when this Ananda streams in, it automatically flows into the cells, flows into the nerves, and automatically sets right everything. They were thirsty for this joy, for this delight. Tissue and flesh partook beatitude. So Ananda, love and beauty are all one, but different shades or sides of one reality. Wherever there is Ananda, there is love and beauty. Wherever there is love, there is Ananda and beauty. Wherever there is beauty, there is Ananda and love. It's just the side which has been put forward. Someone put it very beautifully, that if you take Ananda to be the tree, then love is the flower, and the fruit, beauty is the fruit. So you can look at it like that. But they are fruits and flowers of Ananda. The more Ananda grows, the more these things grow. But it requires all this complete freedom, like Ashtrapati. It doesn't come just like that. And then what happens? Not only the body, but still further. A light, the dun, unplumbed subconscious caves, dun, dull, grey. Even they, suddenly that Ananda goes there, as if they were waiting. Thrilled with the presence of our longed for tread, and filled with flickering crests and praying tongues.
The prescience.
And filled, yes, thrilled with the presence of her longed for tread. Even the demons, the asuras, the jinns of the subconscious, they were waiting for her touch. And when the touch comes, they thrill to her presence. And jeweled crest. Look, it's almost like a snake, hooded snake with a cobra with a money on the head. So it is jeweled crest. And they are waking up. Oh, the Lord has come. Lord has come. There are many stories in Indian mythology like that. Even lost in slumber, mute, inanimate, his very body answered to her power. The one he worshipped was within him now. Flame pure, ethereal trust, a mighty face. What can describe this? Flame pure. Purity, ultimate standard of purity is that burning fire. Ethereal trust.
How beautiful.
A mighty face appeared and lips moved by immortal words. Lids, wisdom sleeves, drooped over rapture's orbs. So the drooping lids are holding back the rapture. If they were to open, we can't stand before that rapture of raptures. So drooping lids, holding the rapture inside. A marble monument of ponderings, shown a forehead, shide script, and large like ocean's gaze towards heaven. Two tranquil eyes of boundless thought looked into man's and saw the God to come. So this is darshan.
Yes. Yes.
Two tranquil eyes of boundless thought. See, this is the difference. We look at God and see Him like another human being, puny human being. God looks at us and says, this is me in another form. Looks at a worm and sees, this is a God to come. Looked into man's. And that's how Mother looked at all of us. That's why she bore and continues to bear all of us. If I may use the word, tolerate all of us. Otherwise, where will we hope? So, because she doesn't see the defects and difficulties, that's our way of looking at it. She says at one place, my child, I always look upwards. I look towards beauty. I look towards wisdom. I look towards the light. And then she tells the disciples, you also must do that. Because if we look at the dark side of life, we will see everywhere and we'll be drawn into the dungeon. Good lesson. As they say, pin it. If we could look into man's eyes and see the God to come. A shape was seen on threshold mind, a voice absolute and wise in the heart's chambers spoke. And now starts a beautiful passage where the Divine Mother herself is revealing to Ashupati. She knows why he has come. So she's not asking him what boon you want. It will come later on. He will still ask. She knows his heart. So she is trying to caution him that I know what you are going to ask, but you be careful what you are going to ask. If you ask, I will give you. But first, the word of caution. O Son of Strength, who climbst creation's peaks, no soul is thy companion in the light. Alone thou standest at the eternal doors. What thou hast won is thine, but ask no more. See, Ashupati has gone all the way to the very highest. At one place he says, the boon we have asked from the Supreme is the highest that the earth can ever ask. Now, earth is lying dull and flat. Earthly beings are busy asking from God about my job, my money, my health, my little concerns. That's earthly beings. But that's not what it is meant for. He is asking delivered earth, divinized earth. So the voice is first reminding him, are you sure? No soul is thy companion in the light. Nobody is asking this. That's why when people ask this from the mother, what was her state? Even Bhakti, Krishna Prem, his friend and, Dilip Kumar Roy's friend, and he was a guru in his own right in Almora. So he had come, and when he saw the mother, and mother recounts this incident, mother asked him, what do you ask? Ask anything, ask. So he said, mother, give me bhakti for my guru. She was very happy. She said, but you already have that. He says, but not enough. I want more. She was so happy, she recounted this in one of her conversations. And says, this is the mark of a truly spiritual being. Otherwise, we ask 100 things from the divine like any religious thing. And divine will grant, because whatever we want, he will give that. That's what he says in the Gita. That even when you approach the gods for asking something, it is me who grants it. Ultimately, they take a sanction from the Supreme. But rarely one who gives himself completely and says, not even I want you, I want to be yours, take me completely. I come to give myself. And that is where the difference lies. So she says, nobody is asking for this boon. You are the lonely representative. On whose behalf are you asking? No soul is thy companion in the light. O spirit, aspiring in an ignorant frame, O voice arisen from the inconscient's world, how shall thou speak for men whose hearts are dumb? Even prayer is so difficult for human beings. Leave aside aspiration. There is so much egoism. When mother was asked about prayer, she says, it is so wonderful, but human beings live in such arrogance. It's very difficult for them because of arrogance to pray. Why should I pray? Why should I, I am the one who will decide my destiny. So hearts are dumb. And then he addresses Ashwapati as the representative being. Through tapasya he has arisen. He is the avatar who is doing the tapasya to ask for this boon. So, O spirit arisen in an ignorant world, in an ignorant frame, from the inconscient you are rising, all these images, because he's the representative for man. How shall thou speak for men whose hearts are dumb? Make purblind earth the soul's seer vision's home, or lighten the burden of the senseless globe. Purblind earth. It's like an obscure vision. It's not a complete blindness, but more or less like that. So he's saying you want the sheer vision's home. Man does not want it.
The senseless globe.
Senseless globe. Where is humanity ready? Several times in mother's conversation it comes. She makes things ready, prepares it, and goes to the Lord. Lord, this is ready now. He says, but world is not ready. And when mother came, this was the first question she asked. One of the first questions when they are together. She says, will it be this time?
Yes.
He said yes, and she saw the supramental force coming. Then she asked, but man is not ready. And he says, if we wait for man to be ready, we have to wait forever. We have to make man ready. And that's why, one of our messages, the future of the earth depends upon a change of consciousness, but it is left to men to decide whether they will collaborate with the change or the change is thrust upon them by the power of crashing circumstances. And we see countless devotees here and there. I move around the whole world. Most of the people are busy asking something for themselves, and the mother is like another guru who is going to give all the goodies.
Gift giver.
Gift giver. At one place, mother says most people treat the divine as if he were a slave to their desires. Only because he is omnipotent, he can give. So we want that. But rarely, it is only once in a while. And that's why it is said, I think in the Bible, many are called, few are chosen. Who are chosen? The one who give themselves completely. They want nothing in return. And paradoxically and strangely, it is to them that everything is given. Only you can't do it with this idea. If I give myself, everything will be given. Very good. She says that. When you give yourself to the divine gives himself to you and all that you would need. But you can't do it with this idea that, I am giving, now I am going to get. It is a spontaneous gesture. And now look the revelation. I am the mystery beyond reach of mind. I am the goal of the travail of the suns. My fire and sweetness are the cause of life. But too immense, my danger and my joy. So this is not just in ordinary, and mother says cautions. It is an adventure. Are you ready? Too immense my danger. If we see the spiritual history of mankind, those who have really been the chosen ones and arrived, it is amazing. Now we'll soon have Guru Nanak's, 550th birth, and the 6th Guru, 7th Guru. You see their life. Imagine that their children are being buried alive two children, both are being buried alive. And all that he has to do is to accept Islam. And he says, no, that's not the way of truth. And they're buried alive right in front of his eyes. But he smiles and trusts the Lord. As you will, as you will. Another one, the Guru is made to sit on hot plate that you just accept once. And finally, the next Guru, he is beheaded. It's a very touching story, you know. He says, all that you need to say is that I accept Islam. He refuses, he is beheaded. And then out of all this anguish, pain and sacrifice is born one Guru Gobind Singh. Sri Aurobindo speaks very highly of him. Very highly. And he says that here was the hero. Literally one of the vibhutis of Kali without a doubt. I mean, imagine he is a saint and he is a warrior who was never defeated by Aurangzeb, one of those. At the end, Aurangzeb gets so frustrated, he says, I will come and meet you. Please, I want to meet you. Because he could not. Two people who were never... Shivaji was defeated a couple of times, but he regained. But Guru Gobind Singh was never defeated. And what was the power with which he fought? Spiritual strength. Now, these are the people who have paved the way. I mean, the road to the divine is not a rosy bed. It's often a bed of thorns through which you need to pass. And all these, Sri Aurobindo and the mother's life, sometimes I wonder what are our miseries. We go and say, imagine Sri Aurobindo being tied to the waist, on the waist by the rope and being almost dragged through the city square in Kolkata. At that time, the fate of British Empire was written, decided. Often people ask me, I said, what was done to Sri Aurobindo? The fate was already decided. Because, just imagine being dragged. All that could be seen in him is a Cambridge educated English speaking person. They have shown the way. Same with mother, living here for years with patched sarees. She would sweep the place and, because she didn't want even handkerchief, she would keep on repairing and using it. So once Huta recounts, somebody asked mother, why are you doing this? You have got some nice handkerchiefs and, keep it away. She lifts up and says, no, it has served me so long. How can I? If she can feel like this for a handkerchief, imagine what she would feel for a human being who has dedicated his life in her service. When one of the disciples departed, she says, his soul went and fused straight into the supramental being. And then she describes all that he carried in his heart was enthusiasm for Sri Aurobindo's work. That was his only moving force. I want to do Sri Aurobindo's work, I want to do Sri Aurobindo's work, nothing else. And she says, straight to the supramental world. What a tremendous...
Yes. Would you comment a little on the Lord's saying, I am the fire and
sweetness of life. It's wonderful. This actually in many ways, many levels.
Yes.
This fire, what does it do? This fire burns away the dross, burns away the ego, burns away all that obstructs and holds us back from the Lord. And when this has happened, then we taste the sweet nectarous rain of His Ananda. There is no Ananda without that. But that's why it is experienced by the human consciousness as a danger. Not that the Lord's touch is dangerous. Somebody asked the mother that about the dangers of yoga. She said it's not yoga which is dangerous. It's because we carry within ourselves things like ambition and all, and that yoga destroys because it releases truth. It is not going to cater to the demands of the falsehood of our earth nature. So, the fire which burns, and thereby it releases the sweetness that rejuvenates life, which is missing in. So she cautions, awake not the immeasurable descent. At one place the mother says, when human beings came, they upset the life of animals. Now the Superman comes and he's upsetting the life of human beings because human beings live within certain frames. Superman has no such frames. Mother says his moral sense will derive from within. Not moral sense, but the intuition will tell him what is the thing to be done. There is no frame through which he will act. So human life will be upset because human life lives within measures and certain ways.
And no morality.
It's something much beyond. And the typical aims that people follow. Marriage, children, job and all this. But for this being, there is something far greater, which an ordinary humanity is not able to see. So it upsets the life, and human beings would often find it, very disconcerting. So, awake not the immeasurable descent, but the descent has happened. So, well, bad luck or good luck, depending on which side of the fence you stand. If you want to remain identified with the old humanity, bad luck. Things are not going to be what you want them to be. The human world is crumbling and collapsing, and only that which can be lifted up to the forces of greater light, they will be taken up. Rest is collapsing, and one can see that. And to those who are looking forward, waiting for this day, for God knows births, that a day should come when we should be able to go beyond humanity into a new humanity or superhumanity, they would rejoice. Now is the moment. So,
But Mother also says that maybe even humanity will not survive.
yes, he said
The
that
general
only
humanity.
a link will remain and one portion which will be lifted up. She spoke of,
Yes.
she prophesied actually, that because of this action, long time, of course, there will be a long time where humanity will be given a chance to change. But eventually, there will be several layers. So there are some who are not ready for the sacrifice needed for the superhumanity of tomorrow. But they somewhere want. So they will be lifted into a higher kind of humanity, more harmonious, more beautiful, less querulous, more integrated. And that we can see now all over the world, this movement is done. Then there are some who are ready to go through any difficulty, come what may. And they are the ones who go into the superhumanity of tomorrow. And there are many who are more close to the animal type. They will collapse back into the animal and get integrated into the animal nature. And then there is a perverse kind of humanity which he says is an aborted attempt, and that will be destroyed, absorbed back into its origin. So one can see the stirrings already are taking place. So there will be a higher humanity which will remain a link between the beast and the superhumanity tomorrow, because the evolutionary link will remain, which will climb up further. So she cautions him, man is too weak to bear the infinite's weight. Truth born too soon might break the imperfect earth. That's why the moment she saw, when children came, the school started, and you will see that from a certain period of time, almost from, I think, 50, 51, playground talk started. Mother's work shifted a lot into the playground. And people mistook it that, the supermind will descend here first and all. That's a different story altogether. But she saw that if the body is not ready, the force is drawing near. Because Sri Aurobindo by his sacrifice had created the possibility now. The descent took place on 5th December, manifestation on 29th February. So she could see that if the body is not ready, there will be a breakdown. So much emphasis during that time, you see the way the physical education department developed, came up, because it was necessary. Then when all that was ready, done, that initiated, then she withdrew back into another kind of work and many kinds of work. So,
a few more lines.
Yes, few more lines. So she tells him, truth born too soon might break the imperfect earth. And that's why it's so important in this yoga to also do some good physical exercise, to have a strong body, strong mind, and a strong life energy. And at the same time, a supple body, supple life energy, and a supple mind. not a rigidly strong, something which is supple and strong. Otherwise, even Swami Vivekananda realized this at one point. So he tells people that you should play football and have nerves of steel. How will you bear the onrush of that power? He himself experienced the breakdown. At 39, he himself suffered. So it's so important in this yoga. That's why here in ashram, there is no official meditation place, because meditation is supposed to be done every time and everywhere. There is an official meditation timing, but no official meditation place. But there is a playground which is official. Entry to playground is most difficult. You may be qualified to do the yoga, but you may not be qualified to enter the playground. It's an irony, but that's how it is. So, emphasis on the body. Leave the all-seeing power to you its way. 10,000 years, million years, it will happen. Ashwapati, don't worry. One day divinization will take place. Somebody asked me in one of the talks long back, 20 years back, in one of the Air Force stations. So he said, what is the hurry? Evolution will ultimately reach. I said, yes, absolutely. So what is the hurry? I said, yes, a couple of million years of more suffering, pain, humanity, the way it is. Perfectly fine. No issue. But some people don't like to, stay in this kind of a mess all their lives. So they are in a hurry. But you can choose the second track, the slow track. It's perfectly fine. But you can choose the other track. Yoga is fast forward evolution. So she says, all seeing power to you the way. Basically she is saying 10,000 years, million years, just as man evolved out of animal and modern man out of 1 million years, conservative estimate, possibly 1.5 million years from the first caveman to modern man. Okay, another 2 million years. If humanity survives, that's the other question. With all the means at our disposal. Doesn't matter, we'll have matter again, start the whole process. So mother says, do we want it back? And that's where she says, Kali is fuming. She says, okay, done with it, we'll start again. And then she says, if Kali is allowed, it means everything goes back to the melting pot. Yes. I don't want that. She says, for me, I prefer the way of love. We read it the other day in Tuesday. That I prefer the way of love, not Kali's way. Because then pralaya for these gods is nothing. Oh, one more creation destroyed. Okay, fine, we'll rest in peace for some time. Whole humanity destroyed. Whole earth. Okay, we'll shape it again. Because they are immortal. They don't understand what it means for human beings to go through even the prick of a needle.
But nature's intention is...
Yes, and mother said, but nature loves to play. It says, yes. What is the hurry? When she brought the supermind, she said, what is the hurry? Man is a good toy. Let me play with him for some more couple of million years. Then she had to explain to nature by real example that this new substance will help you. You will enjoy the play better. Then she accepted and integrated it.
And become now more beautiful, and richer, and natural.
So that's why in yoga, this is not a yoga which is like a mass movement where people, the yogas where there is a lot of stress on conversion. Each person is asked to bring 4 more disciples or 10 more or whatever. But this is not a yoga like that. Here, people are generally cautioned, don't undertake. Right from Sri Aurobindo's, there were more refusals than those who were accepted, because she will break down. Yes. Even Dilip Kumar Roy, famous case where he thought that Sri Aurobindo has refused me, and the tantric yogi told him, no, he has accepted you. He says, but he didn't tell me anything. And then he tells him that you have a lump in your abdomen. He says, yes, it's a hernia. He says, that's why Sri Aurobindo did not accept you, because under the pressure of the yoga, this will burst. Get it operated, then go back to him. Yes. So he needed all the way, and then he tells Sri Aurobindo, why didn't you tell me? And you made a tantric yogi tell me all this. He says, if I would have told you, would you have believed me? He was so full of doubt. He says, if I would have told you, would you have believed me? So he sends him all the way to a tantric yogi. He has to reveal him, there is a hernia out here which you must get operated, then you will be accepted. So that's why man born, even Nishikanto,
Yes.
he was told,
Yes.
if you live in Shantiniketan, you will become a world famous poet. But if you come here,
You will
within 2 years, every possible illness may attack you. And then what a wonder of child, of mother. He said, doesn't matter, with Mother Kali being here, should a child of the Divine Mother be afraid? Okay, come in. And no wonder, every possible illness he had, but lived so long and progressed so beautifully on the path of yoga. So one must understand the difficulties and the danger. Few lines more we'll read, then we'll stop. So she says, leave the all-seeing power to you its way. In thy single vast achievement, reign apart, helping the world with thy great lonely days. So Ashwapati, Sri Aurobindo must have been told at some point, why are you wanting to transform the earth? You are experiencing it. Now you know this is the destiny of man. Man will catch up after million years. But that is where I keep saying Sri Aurobindo's compassion. He could have gone ahead with his own transformation, and the mother, of course.
Yes.
But they waited for us, took us together, so that now we are tied to them. Now, all the forces which deny, they have no choice because we are in that big ship. So we are passing through only because we say we are part of Sri Aurobindo's bandwagon. So when the forces attack us, we have to say like those little ducklings, Mother Duck is there. Then they, okay. Okay,
Oh, look, thank
wonderful.
you. Thank
Yeah. May the light and love surround our life.